Well, Saskia Aloba and her family have been in Britain for 4 years, and in that time they've made a tremendous impact in the communities where they've been living. Certainly the children in particular are very popular in their schools, and people there have been campaigning for them to be allowed to stay here. I'm here now in the offices of Refugee Action, who work with people in similar positions to the Alobas. With me is Nigel Rose. Nigel, what's it like for families in situations like this?
It's an incredibly difficult position to find yourself in. Imagine having lived in this country for several years, getting your children to school, forming a life here, after having a terrifying and difficult situation in your home country, and then finding that you have to return to that country where you were terrified and persecuted.
The process that you go through, we understand that the Alobas, they've come to the end of that, they're being deported. What will they have had to do to try to get permission to stay here? What do you have to satisfy?
It's a very difficult process to prove, and in this case you have to prove, that you are a refugee under the UN Convention. It's not a simple thing to do at all. Proving that you are persecuted, and persecuted by the state for a particular reason, it's very difficult. And so many people are not able to prove that they are a refugee. This, however, does not mean that they didn't suffer terrific problems in their own country. They might have had violence to themselves, torture to themselves, they might have their relatives threatened. That is not just what you need to prove that you are a refugee. You need to prove more than that. It has to be to do with the state as well.
And knowing what we know about Nigeria, what would be the concerns if they are sent back over there, given the fact that there's very little monitoring of what happens if you do get sent back?
Nigeria is one of the most corrupt nations in the world, and has very high levels of violence. And there is no form of monitoring whatsoever that the government do on returnees. And so they simply will not know what has happened to this particular family when they return. They won't phone up, they won't get a letter from them, they simply won't know what's happened to them. And so in the end, in a way, they won't know whether the decision of the UK government was the right decision or not.
OK, Nigel Rose from Refugee Action, thank you very much indeed. Back to you in the studio.